What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now. I'm Alex, and in this video, I want to talk about what's going on with Safi. Is there something deeper there? Now, there's been 1,000 theories, and really one prevailing one about Safi and double exposure. So we are going to get into spoilers. Obviously, a lot of these videos are spoiler-filled videos. So if you haven't played episodes 1 and 2, you're waiting for the full game, please turn away now because you do know the non-spoiler thing that she dies, but everything else that we're about to talk about, there's definitely more. And I would say even just playing it, myself and going through it and kind of like collecting my thoughts, there's clearly something going on with that character. This is a prime just situation where there's more that they're not showing you, right? Where she kind of comes across so larger than life, right? Kind of just so filled with like joy, and she's a good match for Max. Now, to be honest with you, I don't think I love her as a character. It's hard to be introduced to a character immediately and just fall in love with them right then and there, and then if you kill them off like an hour later, to care too much. I think I care more about like Max's reaction to Safi, but I think that's just something I just want to say early on in this video where it's like, I like Safi, kinda. I didn't love her, and like her death to me is more impactful to Max than it is to me. Like we didn't really know her yet, but I think that's planned. I think they honestly did that on purpose because they want to kind of come across where she is bubbly, right? She is this good friend to Max that, they only really got together kind of recently, but then now they're going to start pulling back the curtain, right? And saying, okay, let's show you a little bit more. There was more to her than we think there was in the beginning. Now, what I want to do is I want to talk about, and again, this is spoilers, I want to talk about this doppelganger theory, or this ability that she's able to shapeshift, that she is the one in this game that also has powers. And I like that idea. I like the idea of another character. I don't mind a game, any of these Life is Strange games, where just one of them has powers. It's been kind of the norm, but to have almost like the villain have powers, it can get a little cliche kind of quickly, like depending on how they handle it. Like she can't be this like larger than life, like this super villain. She can't be this massive super villain with powers. It would just kind of feel weird. But for her to have powers, I feel like I can get behind that, right? Okay, so what's the evidence? Well, I saw this amazing thread, so I want to give shout out to Glenn Hall, and this individual seems like he met Hannah Tell back at that event about a month or two ago. And so I'm just going to read his thread. Again, he does a great job at this, and we'll kind of go over my thoughts on it. Life is Strange whodunit thread. Who I think killed Safi in double exposure based on observations. And then he says basically the answer is it's Safi, or at least someone appearing as Safi that I'll get into a bit later. I love Safi's character. She's instantly adorable, funny, charismatic, and you can see why Max would enjoy being around her. Who wouldn't? But is she too likable? So often in these games, the real antagonists have been overlooked. Jefferson practically spells out his crimes in the classroom, and Jed is made out to be the town hero, saving the Helldivers. So why does he play the villain in the LARP? Foreshadowing is the key. I think we've already had this moment with Safi. When you give her the bottle cap and select Fine You Win, she says this. In context, it makes sense, but look at it with hindsight on what's about to transpire after the scene. Why would she word it like that? And the line is, you rule, I'll pull back the curtain soon. I just need a few more days, I promise. Let's look at the context then. We know she's talking about her book deal. We also know Gwen has been helping with her said deal, but for reasons unknown, it gets canceled. Then Gwen gets accused of dealing drugs on the campus. Seems like out of character for the little we know of her. Weird, but then we pair this with what Lucas says, how he believes that Safi told Robbie that he was the reason for his parents' divorce, that Lucas wasn't there that night, and a pattern begins to emerge. Safi seems to have a grudge against these two people. We'll circle back. Now let's look at Safi's acts over the first 2 chapters. Her messages, crosstalk posts, and general mannerisms are a little suspect to say the least. Big thanks to Stardew Jock, who actually follow this individual and we follow each other, for this spot at the end of chapter 1 when Max first shifts. Safi looks almost shocked for the briefest second, like she didn't expect Max to be there. Her hug isn't as welcoming as Max's either. Strange considering they're friends. Her crosstalk post throughout the chapter is a little weird when put through the killer lens. What change of approach is she talking about? And who's the good friend that won't snitch? Herself, Max, or someone else? And then here's the lines. There's substantial art out here, but people are too afraid to take a chance. There's nothing new under the sun by design. That doesn't mean we should give up. It means we should change our approach. And then FYI, there's a lot of you can do in this world with a good friend who won't snitch. Preach. So true. No one knows how to keep a good secret. And then I'm curious whether you're a good friend or the one in need of such a friend, Sophia. This one specifically caught my attention. Why would Safi post this? Who is she trying to convince that her point of view is also correct? And assuming she's the killer, to post this just before she dies seems like she knows it could be perceived as done with evil intent. The difference of our position will show stars in your window. I can't even imagine. Was going to post the full Brooks quote, but it's so damn cold on top of this observatory that I can't remember it. And then they talk about the meteor shower, right, with the bar with Amanda. Safi is absent in the alive world for most of Chapter 2, presumably dealing with the damage done to her car. So why does she post this? What has she been up to all day? And she says, tired ASF, etc., etc. This brings me onto the message she sends Max on the Overlook right before Max has the phone call vision. Is she probing Max? Does she want Max to let slip about timelines or powers? Why ask if she has a grave? And chiefly, how did she know to text Max at that very moment? Hey Max, a weird question, but did you also feel a chill run down your spine a minute ago? Because I swear someone just walked across my grave, which is crazy because I don't have a grave. Never mind, disregard this, probably stress or something. And Max says, oh man, that happened to me before it turned out to be nothing. Okay, cool, let's hope the same thing is true this time. But Glenn, you say, what about the reveal at the end of Chapter 2? Max is the killer. And to that I say misdirection. I believe Safi isn't who she appears to be. I believe she has powers. I believe she can shapeshift. This would explain how Gwen can be caught on the camera feed dealing drugs, how Lucas could tell Robbie he was the reason for being there, and how Max shows up in the final reveal. Safi took their forms to frame them in one way or another. Loud Moons, which is Willow Winefield we've had on the channel, also mentioned that the owl we consistently see near the Overlook is our shape-shifting friend, a literal spirit animal for them, potentially watching us, waiting to reveal themselves. Does Safi want to convince us that their view is right, like the poem infers? I do think the Overlook has a big part to play, based on Reggie seeing his own ghost and the murder also taking place there. It also seems like the veil between the two worlds is the thinnest here, enough for even people without powers to see through or shoot through. This reminds me of the comics and the flickers that Max could see of alternate universes, and her later explanations of how she was able to even exist in the Amber Price universe. It's hard to say how this will go. What we do know is that 2 other students on campus have died in the past, Hannah Hellerton and Maya Okada. Safi was also an undergrad at the same time as Maya, so I don't think it's the last we've heard about these. And there you go. I mean, amazing detective work. But, you know, the one thing I guess I would add, I don't even know how much of an ad it is, but just my own 2 cents, like, there's clearly too much going on for it to be nothing. It's almost too many coincidences. Now, you know, a lot of the writings and things like that, it's if you're looking at it through that angle, right? Like, if you don't look at it through that, it doesn't look as suspicious. But, you know, I did kind of pick up on the Safi, like, looking at Max kind of weird thing. I guess what I would say to that one, and I'm going to talk about this because I want to do a video on Max as well, like talking about that ending of episode 2. What's weird to me is the Max from that alternate timeline. And I guess follow me through, like, this kind of thought process I'm having. So my big question is, like, where is Max? Where is Max in that alternate timeline? Because if she killed Safi and then she, like, pieced out, right? Like, we know she hasn't been in her house in several days in that timeline, right? So it's like, all right, where is she? Is she kidnapped? Is she dead? That would make a lot of sense then, because one thing that you notice when you play is in Chapter 2, a lot of it, in fact, actually Chapter 1 at the very end, like, Max isn't, like, he's kind of ghosting people, right? Like, Safi had, like, a coffee date with her or whatever it was, right? And then Max appears, and Safi does look a little surprised by that. So I guess my line of thinking is, like, what if Max is dead, or what if Max is missing and Safi knows that, but then Max just appeared, right? She could be like, hey, you're not supposed to be here. I just killed you. You know, I shape-shifted into you and tried to frame you. And when I shape-shifted into you, I killed that version, but now here you are, right? So it's like, okay, well, you're not supposed to be here. Just kind of like, I don't know. That might mean more for Max than it does for Safi, but that is one kind of path I would like to go down, where it's like, does she know Max is supposed to be dead, or Max is, like, tied up in her basement or something, right? So it's like, well, Max can't be outside of this building, like, hugging me because I just tied her up because I shape-shifted as her. I need to, like, remove her from the conversation or from the the situation, right? So I tied her up, but now here she is standing in front of me. That is something that I have thought of, and like beyond that, yeah, I think it, there are too many things like with the Lucas thing and the Gwen thing. They could be red herrings. They could be something to throw people off, but it is odd that they're both like the Gwen book deal thing. She did something, obviously to like stop the book deal, and then all of a sudden now she's expelled from campus because they got her evidence, and like that part is actually very important, right? Because like they got her on camera, but it's not her. She said she didn't do it, right? Now she could just lie, but they literally got her on camera. So it's like, okay, well, there has to be two of her, and then the other one has to be like evil, or like, the one that would want to be like a drug dealer. But it's like, well, would she do that? The answer is no. But then who would? Well, if somebody could take the shape of these characters, they would. Same thing with Lucas, right? Like now Lucas is a little less, like we don't know enough about him, I think, and that situation is harder to like figure out. Although, when he's on the phone before Max kind of like interrupts him and like begins that arc, I think he's talking to somebody. He talks, or maybe it's his son, and he talks, he says like love you and things like that. So he doesn't seem like this terrible father. You don't know for sure, but his is a little bit more like, okay, well, we don't know if we can trust him or not. But the common theme is that they both, like Glenn says here, like the common theme is both of them have something to do with Safi, and something bad is happening kind of in both their lives because of it. Safi, I do think no matter what happens, whether Safi has powers or not, she is definitely not this sweetheart, like this innocent, what I mean? There's something deeper to her. When we had like the live stream, the spoiler cast on episodes 1 and 2, I talked just very briefly because we don't know too much, but like Abraxas feels to me like you can do something there, right? This like secret society, and like how dark can it get, things like that. And it's like, I don't know, like, can you do anything with Abraxas? Is that going to play a big part, or are they just going to go kind of like full on powers that she is like evil and she has these powers? And I guess like what's her end goal then, right? It's like, I know we've kind of talked about that, like jealousy. She's jealous of other people. I don't know. Maybe she can like suck powers. So if she shapeshifts as Max, maybe she can control time in a sense like Max. I'm not sure. But then just to throw this last part out here from Celeste, I've been seeing this whole like, did Safi mess with like Max and Chloe? And I don't know how much I want to believe it. I'm actually going to do another, like my videos here, Safi, I want to do another video on Max. I want to do another video on Chloe where we kind of go more in depth with it. But I did just want to throw this in here because it does have to do with Safi. So this account says it's been pointed out that Chloe's handwriting in the journal is different from the breakup letter, but it goes beyond that because the letter's handwriting matches Safi's poems. Did Safi write the letter to break up Pricefield and isolate Max? And you see it like, hey, Max. And so that's the one from Chloe. And then here's Chloe in the journal. And yeah, those are totally different. Like, and also Chloe's writing is different than Max. It's not like Max wrote both of those. And then, yeah, you now look at Safi's thing, Mom, take a look if you get the chance, etc., right? And just, yeah, it's actually, it could be like laziness where it's like there's only so many fonts and they didn't think that through all that hard, or some people write the same, so like it's ironic. But I guess the Chloe breakup letter to the journal, like, yeah, there is like a stark difference there. Maybe Chloe like felt more artistic when she did the journal, and so she was kind of like doing more hooks to her letters and stuff, and then she didn't, what I mean? And again, I don't want to get too deep in that, but I don't think it went all that far for the Chloe thing because it would be so different. If Chloe died versus Chloe stayed alive, then it wouldn't happen, right? Like Safi doesn't have to go after this relationship if Chloe's not there. And that goes back into like the gameplay thing where it's like, I just don't know how different Deck 9 would make the two paths, right? Like they're going to have to converge at a lot of points, and that might be too big for them to have cared to have done something like that. But, there could be more evidence. It could be more evidence that Safi is taking that kind of angle as well. So let me know what you guys think about Safi. Make sure, as always, you're subscribed to the channel, bell icon turned on, and I hope to see you all on the next one.